seems like some sort of subliminal switch.
The playoffs are very different than the regular season.
The most uncomfortable thing ever.
If it could go right, it did go right.
If it wasn't for Lamar Hunt, Philip Anschutz, and Robert Kraft, this league would not be here.
Hey folks, what is going on? My name is Scott Shirkson, and welcome to Inside the Call here at Stream Punk Soccer. Joining me today, completing 30 years, now going on to his 31st year as play-by-play person for the LA Galaxy. He has covered the likes of David Beckham, Zlatan, Robbie Keane. He has also covered Andrew Shue, best known for Melrose Place, by the way, and Elizabeth Shue's brother. But now going into his 31st season as play-by-play person for the LA Galaxy, Mr. Joe Tutino. Sir, it's a privilege. How the heck are you?
Well, thank you for having me. Just to correct a little bit, I was the PA for the very first game in 1996. And then eventually we were able to find our way to the talk show and then finally English TV and radio when that got underway. So, yeah, my association with the Galaxy goes all the way to the very first game.
Nice. So does it feel like it's been that long, or does it feel like only yesterday?
It feels like only yesterday. I mean, that first game, we talk about it all the time. Just how, in 1996 on what it was at the Rose Bowl and what we expected at the Rose Bowl. And none of us had any idea what it was going to be. And all of a sudden we have 69,000 people at the stadium and we expected 30,000 people. And people still at the end of the night didn't get into the building to watch the game. So quite a spectacle. And it was a great starting point for the Galaxy. And I think for Major League Soccer, that whole weekend was incredible.
Now, in your case, you've had 4 titles as well, so congratulations on that.
Oh, 6. Hey, 6.
No, 4 MLS, I should say. Sorry, Bill, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say too. Sorry, I was doing my Pittsburgh show here. We ran a little bit late, a little over there, but I was gonna say too. Coming into the league, you guys had the most awesome uniforms. I love those jerseys, by the way. The kits were pretty awesome back in those days.
They were unique. I remember. My career started in sports radio with a station called Extra Sports 690 on the West Coast, and it was we got the distinction of being the very first sports station on the West Coast and the first 24-hour sports station in the nation. And so there was a lot of talk about MLS, me being the soccer guy with my station, and everybody else being normal, traditional sports radio, sports talkers back then. And of course, you're dealing with people that are waiting for the league to fall. And when the names came out and you heard rumors about Nike interns were actually putting the names together of the league teams, and then the uniforms came out, they were pretty flamboyant for the time. And now, as time has gone on, obviously those original kits for the Galaxy still resonate very well. And the one thing I take away from that, and sometimes Kobe and I will laugh about it, or even Kevin Hartman when we talk about it, is the fact that those uniforms were so big. It's like the guys were floating in those kits back then. And maybe that was the design. If I remember, back then it was
it was baggy.
Customary for everybody else to have it that way.
Yep. It was funny because my brother-in-law lives in Brooklyn, and we were in Times Square in November, and I was at the Pele store, and they had one of those old jerseys on clearance, but it was a medium, and I don't that thing would have been I wouldn't have been able to fit in a medium. I'm a kind of a bigger guy, but yeah, I was just like, oh man, I asked the guy, I said, do you have anything in large or extra large? He's like, nah, this is it. I was like, damn. So, but those were nice kits, and I remember those days when the MLS had first started. Mm-hmm. It was just, I don't know, it was new territory, and you remember the time used to count down instead of counting up. Remember that too? Mm-hmm. I mean, it was just, it's like, wow, okay. But yeah, and I'm sure you've seen a lot. You've seen it all in your years, I'm sure. But I guess I know Scott will get into this on what you see now with the Galaxy. I know we had a guest on a few weeks ago talking about some of the quarter
of the Galaxy. Yeah,
sure. No, Josh will.
talking about some of the the things that happened last year, as you know, that season kind of went south. And I was saying, I said, I do a soccer show every Saturday morning, and I said, we were just waiting for them to climb in the standings, and it just never happened, And it was just, man, I couldn't believe it. But yeah, Scott, I'll let you take it where you want to on that one. So.
All right. So yeah, in this case here, it's been a little up and down the last couple of years. I think it's a safe bet. MLS Cup, obviously, last year missing the playoffs, but you've had a couple of interesting moves in the offseason, taking a couple of people from the East Coast and sending and basically bringing West in the form of Jacob Glesnes and also Justin Hag. So we're going to talk about Puig in a minute too, but clearly working on making additions to get this team back to the way it was 2 years ago. What are your thoughts in general on the addition of both of those guys now?
Well, I think just by viewing the additions and not talking to anybody, the Galaxy probably went back and said, hey, we took 66 goals last year. And not only did we take too many goals, we were taking too many shots. And therefore, we need to address this. How the Galaxy will look in 2026 from a goalkeeper standpoint going forward. Will they play three in the back? And therefore, these two additions are going to be starters, or will one be a center back, adding to what the Galaxy already have, and somebody else showing in a defensive midfielder role? That will remain to be seen. But number one, I think, is stopping the goals against and finding bedrock, for the sake of argument, to build on going forward from there. And of course, they had the bad news right around the new year regarding Ricky not being able to go this year and having to go through surgery once again. They'll have to address that, and they have time to do that. That's the good thing. They have some time to do that here in this window. So we'll see what they do.
Yeah, and I mean, I just had found that out. I didn't even know. I mean, when was that? It just was recently, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the club made the announcement. If I remember correctly, it was right in between Christmas and New Year's that he was going to have the surgery, and then it happened within a couple of days, and so he is officially out, according to the press release, the entire season, and he'll come back hopefully for that sprint season that we go into the new calendar coming up in the not too distant future. So it's a shame, because usually this time of year everybody's getting ready, and you expect them to be ready to go and show up at training and go through their physicals, and sometimes you find things during physicals. But this happened, from what I understand, in the run up to coming to LA, and unfortunately they had to redo it. So
I mean, that's just a major blow. I mean, after he missed 2025 season, this is, I'm guessing it's a complete and total ACL reconstruction. I'm guessing is
my understanding is they had to redo the knee once again. Yeah. So that puts him out officially for the entire season. And yeah, it was tough. 2025 was tough, but it was not only Ricky being gone, the entire midfield was pretty revamped. Without, Edwin Cerrillo was the starter, became a starter in 2024. But everybody else was gone from that midfield. Ricky was gone. Mark Delgado was a very important part of that midfield in the championship year. He had to move on because of the salary cap problems, and Gaston Brugman had to move on because of salary cap problems. And that was a veteran right there that knew how to take care of business and could have still been a spot starter. But I think the Galaxy felt they needed to move forward from there to get under the cap. And unfortunately, with the injury to Ricky, plus those guys going, that made for a very difficult start to the season. They rebounded towards the end, but the season was already lost.
What's your take on Glesnes? Obviously, had a stellar career with the Union. I mean, great defender. I mean, what are you expecting from him? I'm expecting big things.
I'm expecting leadership. I'm expecting somebody who comes in and takes charge. That also will take a shot from distance from time to time if he gets that opportunity. We've seen some highlights regarding his free kicks from distance as well. So I think he's a guy that'll fit in well from what the Galaxy need to do. They needed to get a little quicker and a little more physical and have the ability to really defend in the air Usually not the tallest team out there, the Galaxy. So getting some guys who can even that out, I think helps.
Yeah. Anything in the latter half of 2025? I know that it showed a little bit of improvement. Anything that you saw in the latter half of 2025 that leads you to? I mean, obviously, the new personnel coming in is going to help. I think they have, because I mean they let's face it, they lacked true leadership, I think, last year. And now you're going to have some of these guys coming in, I think are going to, take that leadership role from the get-go. But I mean, anything in the latter half that you saw that kind of maybe gives you a little bit of promise?
Well, remember the first 5 games of the season, the Galaxy didn't have Joseph Paintsel. And then he had to come back from that quad injury, and there was a couple of starts and stops there. Then he found his way. Gabriel Peck had a very difficult start to the year because he didn't have the service that he needed, and he didn't have the guy on the opposite side that was as dangerous as he was. So suddenly he was taken out of the game with 2 defenders on him all the time, and then everybody else had to do things, had to step up and get things going for the Galaxy. That was a big drop-off, considering the fact that you had 5 players that are already gone, plus the injury to Joseph Paintsel, and so I think that was too much. As the season wore on, the Galaxy got into Leagues Cup. They were a little more healthy, a little more consistent, and guys were finding their way. And they had a nice little run there. They got them into the CONCACAF Champions Cup, which they started in February. And then, I think they were able to continue to understand how they can go play and take care of business. The lone player they brought in, Nascimento, started to find his way into the lineup, and he had a nice little connection with Marco Royce, and they were able to work things through the middle of the park a little bit. And so there was an apparatus where the Galaxy were showing positive play. But ultimately, from start to finish, and we'll look at even the last games of the season, where they even when they played America in a friendly in November, the Galaxy just took too many goals, too many games with 2 goals against, where you had to at least try to get that second goal to tie it, or give up the second goal where you lost 2 points in the tie. There was too many of those games for the Galaxy to overcome. And even though they were playing better down the stretch, that was the constant throughout the season for them.
Yeah. What about trading away Dejan
Joveljic?
To Sporting Kansas? I mean, that just kind of, I know that they faced a lot of criticism on that. I mean, there was I forget. I read an article about that, and they said that just completely gutted the team's attack from that standpoint.
He was another salary cap situation. He was coming off of one of the levers that Major League Soccer has in their salary cap structure, and he was going to cost too much money for the Galaxy to keep. You may have heard that he was about to go to Mexico, and then Kansas City came in and said, "Wait a minute, no, we'll give you that money." And Dejan, they gave Dejan the option: is, do you want to go to Mexico or do you want to go to Kansas City? And he had, he got the option to go to Kansas City, and he had a great season. And you're right, losing him also hurt, because he's a very interesting forward. He's somewhat of a poacher. He's cerebral in how he plays. He will, we call him the chess master here with the Galaxy. And that's kind of how he goes about playing his game. And losing him and losing whatever it was it 22 goals, I think it was, in 24 for the Galaxy? And losing those goals, you can't make them up. You can't make them up, especially when training's already underway in January. You can't go find that player that fits right in. And it took Dejan a little time to do that and become that guy. And you're right. I mean, now it took criticism, but they were in a situation where they had to address the cap and get under the cap in order to fill the team. And that's why you lost players like Joveljic and Delgado and Gaston Brugman, and guys who could have helped this team without Ricky Puig. And then when you lose those guys and you lose Ricky, and then you lose Joseph Paintsel in training for an extended period, you're in trouble and you have nowhere to go.
Well, and Martin Cesares, or what's, I forget his name. Martin. He was another. Gaston Brugman.
Oh, Caceres.
Caceres. Yeah. Caceres.
He was. You know what? I think he was really impactful in the early part of 2024, but as the season wore on, he became a player that was going to complement that team defensively. Yeah. And guy who's played in what I believe was 5 World Cups for Uruguay. That's a big deal. And not having him at the end and not having that experience, I think maybe hurt the club a bit. But there just were not enough players to help this club through a trying time before they could find traction. And they found traction in what? July?
Yeah.
It was over by then.
Correct. And, we talked about it when we had the guest on. We said these young players didn't have guidance last year. It was just when it rains, it pours for you guys last year. Right. It was a microcosm of just so much. There was just so much, key player injuries, poor performance from other vital players, lack of midfield depth, I would even say. Sure. Costly defensive errors. We've seen that, and just some questionable roster management things. I know, Dejan, I mean, we know that was, something that obviously probably had to be done. But when everything snowballs, people look for blame. And
without a doubt.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what they're looking at. They're going to throw, regardless of if it benefits the team in the future, they want the here and now. That the team's not doing well. They want to look for blame.
I agree. I mean, when you're looking from outside the fishbowl, there's a lot of things that you look at and you say, well, why aren't you doing this? And why isn't this player playing? And why are you going like in this particular case? And trust me, I mean, I get a chance to talk to Greg Vanny prior to every game and see them in training, and I'm blessed to be able to do that. I ask those questions also, even when I'm watching at times, and there's always an answer. There's always a logical answer as to what is going on. And a lot of times, as you guys know, covering this game and other sports, people suit up, but maybe they're not 100%, and maybe you can't, put that guy out there. Maybe he's got 20 minutes for you as opposed to 65 minutes, and then you can take him on as a starter. And you find yourself in that situation. And when you lose so many players who can be starters for you, and suddenly you have guys that need to play for you and put in those minutes and they can't do it, you're in trouble. And you have a lot of kids out there that are just getting, 17-year-olds that were playing or starting for the Galaxy. They did as good as they could for the Galaxy, out there, and they show promise. But as a 17-year-old, it's not the same, and I think it showed. It just showed throughout the season. I mean, when you're at the bottom of the conference for whatever it was, 32 out of the 34 rounds, you're in trouble. I mean, I wish as a Galaxy fan myself, I wish I could tell you, it was unlucky. It was just a rough year for them, unfortunately.
That's unfortunately what ends up happening. Like you said, in this case, you start out of the gate a little rough. You can't recover. The advantage slightly now is the fact that there's 9 playoff spots versus before, but it's still the mentality and sets a tone. And that's where a lot of times teams struggle a little bit. Now, obviously, we talked about Ricky. We talked about Glesnes. Let's talk about Justin Hack for a minute now.
Okay.
Yeah. Hack took less money from the Galaxy than NYCFC offered him. Right now, if I'm not mistaken, it's a 1-year option with a club option for a second year. Mm-hmm. So the theory is he might be testing himself or training himself for Europe. Have you had a conversation with him yet? Or just in general, what are your thoughts on him? I mean, I have my own thoughts. I covered that kid for 4 years. I know what he brings to the table.
Well, then I should be asking you that question. I tell you, I haven't had a chance to see anybody. They, in fact, are just beginning to report now. I believe they go through physicals on the weekend, and they'll go out on the field sometime next week, to get ready. And then start training towards the end of next week. So that's probably when I'll go up and get a taste of what they're doing out there. And I had a chance to watch him in the MLS Cup final. I thought he played well. I did. And
He's still young.
And I'm hearing that he wanted to go back to his boyhood club, or a club that he loved as a kid. And that's great to hear that he wants to put the colors on. And if there's an opportunity to go to Europe, if that's the case for him, I hope he's good enough. I mean, that's where we are in this league. If we can produce players that can go abroad, that's where we are right now. Because we've been bringing in a lot of older guys over the years, and now it's a matter of being able to play in this game, to get in this exchange of talent and bring in young talent that people will be excited about, and also be able to develop our own young talent that people get excited about and are happy to see move on to big clubs abroad as well.
Yeah. And I know we talked about Paintsel obviously being hurt. What about Gabriel Peck? I mean, he missed some time as well.
He did.
I like him as a player. I mean, what are you expecting out of him this year? I mean,
a lot of passion. He's got a lot of passion.
He does
out
have
there.
a lot of passion. Yep.
He was dealing with what I thought was like an adductor injury off the start of the season, and he was playing through it. And he missed a lot of time as well. He had to shut down a couple of times throughout the season to get himself right. But I think just echoing what Greg had to say about him when we were talking about him in pregame shows, in that he felt something came over him that he needed to lift the team and put the team on his shoulders. And they had to convince him to say, hey, no, just be who you are, as opposed to trying to do more. And you're trying to do more, and suddenly you're in a position where you're not able to be as productive as you normally will be and normally are. And they had to try to maybe consciously have him understand that, as opposed to subconsciously, to get himself to just play the position, defend, of course, if you can, because you want those wingers to defend a little bit, but not try to do too much, and trust his teammates out there. And it took a little time for that to happen. But again, we were 2/3 into the season before all that started to come together for the club, and trying to find their striker and getting Joe going and all that stuff. It just was too late in the season for real traction to try to say, okay, let's go get that 9th spot.
Yeah. I mean, to put it in perspective, when you look at 2024 and you look at last season, injuries impacted 45% of the team's total offensive output. That's a lot. That is a blow. If I've ever seen one,
without a doubt, I would say that, and look at what Ricky's numbers were for the Galaxy in 2024, and you start the season without those numbers.
Correct. I mean, that in itself was a blow, but then culminating all these other guys, it's just like, oh wow, you can see if you were a non-MLS fan and you looked and you saw who was champion in 2024 and you saw what they did in 2025, you'd be like, what? But then when you look at this, you're like, okay, it makes sense now. It totally makes sense.
Yeah, but you have to look at it on the outside looking in. If you're somebody in Europe that's paying attention a little bit or glances over to MLS and they look at the champion's at the bottom and they're winless and whatever it was off the top of the bat. And they kind of, unfortunately, it's a bad look for the league to have that happen. And certainly I think the league understands that with the current champion, and I don't think they're going to have that start to their season coming up, but everybody will be looking at that as well. And it just kind of one of those things. And unfortunately, when you are a team like the Galaxy that has won as much as it has in the past and has represented the league, especially many years before Messi, let's put it that way. Sometimes you have to eat it, and that's what happened to the Galaxy. They have to eat this. It's a matter of what happened, and everybody wants it to go in a positive direction, of course.
How do you feel in general about the 2026 season? I'm not going to put you on the spot and say where you're going to place them, but do you feel more confident versus last.
Yes, I do, because the part we were talking about where we got to 2/3 into the season and the team started to have some traction. I think ending the year the way they did is a positive. It's like, okay, we have this, we put this behind us. There's a mindset of, hey, we're not as bad as that first 2 months of the season where it really killed us. And I think there was an opportunity for them to go into the offseason, the players individually, and recalibrate and get ready to come into the season. I think the changes the club has made or the add-ons that they've made coming into this year are really going to help defensively. And, they expected Ricky to be back. We got the news that he's not. So there's an opportunity here to go find that player, whether he's going to be out of contract in Europe or there's a move to be made. That remains to be seen. Or maybe there's somebody in MLS that can help this team at this point and play a certain system that is not necessarily with Ricky, because he's such a freelancer and he's such a unique player, especially in our league. Maybe you don't go try to find him, but find a guy who's going to work in Greg's system that can fill that gap and help the forward line be productive.
Right.
And, Scott was talking about
maybe somebody from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe one of those players from the Riverhounds, perhaps.
Yeah. That was, and that's funny because Scott, I started writing for Scott this year, and he's like, wow, your first cover, your first time covering a team, they win a championship. I'm like, hey, you know what? It is what it is.
That's must good be stuff.
My first year covering NYCFC was 2021. It's a weird feeling.
Yeah.
I think we're cursed. We're reverse cursing here. So, Gotham, basically, first year covering Gotham, they won a title.
Wow.
First year covering the Fire Wolves in the NLL, they went to the championship. Seton Hall in their first year won the NIT. It's like all the teams that we cover in the first year, they seem to go far.
Well, so don't jinx it.
If the Galaxy want me to cover them.
Yeah, you can do it from the East Coast. You have to stay up late, but you'll do it.
But I know Scott kind of alluded to it, but Justin Hawk, I think, is a big signing. I know he took less money. We talked about this before. I think he just wanted to change the scenery. I mean, the guy was in NYCFC since U14. I mean, right? So, I think the guy just wanted to change the scenery. I don't know. Is there any incentives with that contract that maybe he is more lucrative with them? I mean, is there anything know about that? Or because I didn't see anything. I know he took less money, and we were all kind of wondering why. But
I have theories on this, but I will leave them to myself for the moment. Yes. I mean, so I'll just suffice him to say that basically he's testing himself for Europe, and he wanted a change of pace.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's my thing. I think he was, like I said, U14. He was in the academy. He wanted a change of scenery. I think is what it comes down to.
I guess we'll learn that along the way. I haven't had a chance to meet the player at this point, and look forward to meeting them and welcome them to the Galaxy like everybody else, and welcome the boys back when I have a chance to see them. But I think for the Galaxy, being able to get those two defenders in is a big deal. A much bigger deal than anybody's really talking about at the moment. Because if the Galaxy can shore up that defensive front, that's going to really make those forwards, comfortable enough to be who they are. And I think Joe and Gabby will be able to take care of business. And I think if Marco Royce's body helps him stay healthy, he's going to contribute in a big way. Remember, he had 9 assists. And he was kind of a part-time starter for the Galaxy because of his injuries and because of the wear and tear. And so if he can stay a little more healthy, you're looking at double-digit assists from him. That's a pretty good deal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and they need all the help they can get. They conceded 66 goals last year, and that was tied, I think, for worst, right? And I think the other thing I looked at, I think it's almost like 170 shots. On goal, and I think that's the other thing that needed to be taken care of, and I think this is going to help a lot.
You look at a team like this, and obviously, go ahead, Bill.
No, go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say, in this case, when you're also doing play-by-play, and you're covering it, fans get frustrated and everything like this. But when you're a sports writer and things like this, you're kind of in a lot of ways in the trenches with them.
Right.
And you feel if they have a 4-0 loss, at home, and you got to go into that press conference, what that energy is going to be like. And it's difficult sometimes, to say the least.
Well, and do you feel better about the goalkeeping situation? Because I know it was kind of a carousel last year. Obviously, McCarthy was traded away to the New York Red Bulls. Novak's your guy, right? I mean, do you feel better with the goalkeeping situation, or?
I think the coaching staff likes Novak. I think what we saw last year with his first opportunity to be a consistent starter for the LA Galaxy, or for anybody at this level. And so we saw the growing pains, but they see him day in and day out. And what I've heard is that they really like the profile of who he is. And he's a tall goalkeeper, big guy, can, good wingspan, has the capability of making big saves, and he did more often than not. But there's always learning at that age. And goalkeepers, as you guys know, kind of come into their own in their latter part of the 20s and into the 30s. It's kind of reverse from the outfield players, right? And so he needs a little more seasoning, and this year will be year 2 of that, and we'll go from there. And I think it's a good opportunity to take a step forward and become maybe a little more vocal, a little bit more in charge of his penalty area. And you can't do that without having the experience you had last year. And so now he's able to put that under his belt and take another step forward. I'm sure the coaching staff will be asking him to do a little bit more in goal. It's like, okay, we got this is your back 3, back 4, whatever it might be. But the same message will be, we can't take 66 goals. And that's with everybody. Sure.
Yeah. What about JT? You like him, or?
I do like JT.
Yeah.
I like JT Marcinkowski. I like the way he takes care of business in goal. I like his shot stopping capabilities. I like his distribution. And he's got a little bit more of that veteran in him that can be a mentor to Novak. And I think that's the position I think he's in at the moment. But you never know. I mean, I think everybody's going to have an opportunity to win their job.
Yeah, I mean, he made 96 appearances, 95 starts across a bunch of competitions in 5 seasons before he came to the Galaxy. So I agree with that. He's a good veteran.
Yeah, he was the most experienced goalkeeper on the staff last year.
Yeah. Yep. So
we got about 5 minutes at this point, real quick. I wanted to get your thoughts on the change in the schedule that we're getting for 2027.
I like it.
Yeah, I think it had to be done.
Too.
Yeah.
What is your take, though, on a personal level, but also a player level? The fact that we have that full season plus the 14-game mini season prior to. Do you see it being a concern for some of the players from a stamina standpoint, injury standpoint?
Oh, when X was called Twitter, and the TV deal was announced, I decided to go on Twitter and say, this would be a perfect time at the World Cup to flip the calendar. And back then I took a lot of grief, which everybody does when they give an opinion on that particular platform. But I felt, you play into the World Cup, you take the month and a half break, you start with maybe Leagues Cup, and then you start your season as the preseason tournament. This particular way, I think what happened was they weren't able to make the switch this soon. So they said, okay, we're going to do this and then have the sprint season, then take the break and then start. And I don't know. Are they going to try to do 34 games? I don't think that's going to happen in the sprint season. I think it's going to be something like 20, I believe.
The sprint season, but then the regular season after that. So you have we'll call it in a way, almost a year and a half, a year and a plus season on that.
Yeah. So hopefully with the calendar change, we'll see a little roster expansion and the purse strings opened up a little bit more. And if you do both of those things, then I think you're going to be all right. We do have now the international breaks that are going to help us out as opposed to playing through the international breaks like a lot of our teams have done in Major League Soccer for God knows what reason, but we've done it. And so, in the Galaxy's case last year, I believe we had some makeup games because of weather. That we lost some games. One in Houston because of the flooding. The field got flooded because of the amount of rain they had. And I think Austin, it might have been Austin or Dallas, there was lightning that we couldn't get out of. And so we had makeup games in the international breaks. But I think it's going to be okay. Will it be rough? Probably. Yeah, we'll probably have that. We'll probably have a situation where, you know what, come the new season, when we go into the fall, spring season, there'll be some veterans that probably can't give you a bunch of games early on. And then you get to that, you try to marathon it, right? Let's get to the winter break. And then on the opposite side, we'll be able to really give a push towards the playoffs. And thank goodness we still have a playoff system. Otherwise, I think a lot of teams will be lost by the break. Just kind of the fact of the matter is we don't have enough on our rosters in order to do what Europe does. So I think that'll work out. Injuries are all part of it. I think ultimately, as part of this calendar change and this maybe MLS 3.0, as they like to talk about, maybe we're looking at younger players now. We're looking at guys who can carry a little bit more responsibility. And in order for us to punch through, then we also have to look at players that resonate a little bit more, because now we're going to be playing against the Europeans and with the Europeans. And you can't be a Power 5 conference in the mornings in Europe and think the Group of 5 conferences are going to get the same ratings. If we're talking college sports for the sake of argument. And so I think MLS has to have a mindset of saying, hey, we're going to be part of that upper echelon. We keep on talking about being that league of choice, then we need to become that league of choice.
Nice. Bill, you got anything?
No, I mean, I like it. I think it's when you align, anytime you're able to align with the European and the rest of the world, I think it's a good thing in terms of off season, in terms of transfer windows, all that stuff. And I think that's why they did it. And plus, let's face it, MLS is in the top, one of the top 10 leagues. It's in the top 10 now in the world.
Right.
So,
well, I think look at it this way. Let's say you're a national team player in Croatia, Serbia, one of the outside of the top 5 leagues in Europe, and you have an opportunity to play in the United States. And let's say you're playing, I don't know, Sweden or Serbia or whatever you might be playing, and you're a national team player there, and you're coming to play in this country opposite of the schedule that your national team coach is used to watching you play. That puts you behind the 8 ball. You have to be exceptional for that coach to really look at you again. And if you get injured or anything like that, they write you off because we're the American League.
Right. Exactly.
At the very least now they have a real choice. You're still playing on the same calendar. It's not an excuse anymore. You can make your way over to the United States, make some more money potentially, or as a lot of people keep saying, the checks in America, they cash as opposed to some checks never come. So there's a lot of things that are going to be yellow or red lights that are going to turn to green lights for Major League Soccer. And now it's about embracing that and having the confidence to go forward. And I think we have enough strong ownership groups in this league, and I would say we're probably, across the board, maybe one of the top 5 strongest ownership groups in the world when it comes down to soccer. Now it's a matter of that group saying, "Okay, let's go." And to add to that, the recent news coming out of New England and Boston with the Revolution taking another big step forward and getting their own stadium in Boston proper. Think about that community there in the city of Boston playing top flight soccer in this country with Portuguese players, Spanish players that are coming over to this side of things that really can touch on the cultural aspects of that community, and not have them say you have to drive 45 minutes out to Foxborough, you know, and now you're doing it right in downtown Boston. That whole team is going to change. Yeah. It's going to become a powerhouse. And so we're really poised. I'm really excited about where we're going to be. We're about a year behind it, but then again, we have the biggest tournament in global sports coming this year, so I can understand why we have to wait just a little longer.
Now, with the extended winter break, mid-December to early February, no January games, you're still going to see some. You're still going to see some. You're still going to have the orange ball out there. I think for some of the. Yeah, and I like it personally. I mean, I was telling Scott, I watched the Canadian Premier League Championship. I don't know whether you saw that.
I saw that.
I mean, I like it. Some people hate it. I like it. You know.
Well, we lost 2 games again. We lost. The Galaxy lost 2 games because of weather. During a time where it's brutal to go into Houston, to go into Florida, to go into Orlando, Miami and Orlando, Kansas City at times, it can be brutal for these players to try to play 90 minutes. If they have to layer up a little bit because we have a dusting of snow, and great. Orange ball comes out. If we lose a game because of weather, I understand that. But it was 65 degrees in Denver. I watched the Chargers play the Broncos this week, so that was fine. I watched the Giants play, who was it, the Cowboys? It seemed to be sunny, although it was cold there. I don't know how it was in Pittsburgh this weekend. Cincinnati seemed to be able to play. The Bengals were able to play, I think it was who they played, Cleveland. So these teams were able to take the field and play. Now, is it soccer? Is it our sport? No. It's not, but I think we can adapt. And most of those cities have domes if you have to play a game in a dome. And I know the Canadians who are watching this podcast are saying, well, what about us? Well, you have the Big O in Montreal, and you have Sky Dome. I don't know if it's still Sky Dome, but you have the Dome in Toronto, and you play in a dome right now in Vancouver. So if you have to play in a dome for a game or 2 to get you from here to there, I think everybody can deal with that because you're playing championship cups games in the dome as well when you're in the championship cup. So we've seen that in Montreal, and we've also seen that in Toronto. So when there's a will, there's a way. Minnesota, I know people in Minnesota are going to say, well, we're still minus degrees even in March, but we've been started in February as it is.
Right. Well, I mean, Bundesliga deals with this all the time.
Yeah.
They're fine with it. I mean, and they've tailored some of their stadiums over there to have retractable roofs and things like that. But they deal with this all the time. They've been dealing with it forever. I don't think it's much. These guys don't. A lot of them don't mind playing in bad weather, like the snow. I mean, I remember what was a few years ago when LAFC played Real Salt Lake in that snow in March. It was like it was lightning. It was doing all kinds of craziness. And I think they asked him longer. They're like, is it hard for you to play in it? He's like, no. Like I've done it. It's no, it's not hard. Like
most of these guys where they come up, especially in Europe, they've played that time of year, and it's cold. I don't know of anywhere in Europe on our calendar where you find any country where it is weather like the United States in the spring and the summer. So it's cold and it's wet and it's snowy and it's that, and that's fine. I mean, I think that's okay. I think if we lose a game because of that, we have time to make it up. And that's okay. We've done that before on the summer side of things. I think the fact that we align with the most important leagues in the world, we align with the international breaks, we align with the proper transfer windows, that opens up so many opportunities for our league to really take the steps forward that everybody's been talking about over the last 2 decades. We want to take steps forward. Well, they've been doing that, first with Beckham, then with all the teams that joined the league and the new stadiums that have come on board and Messi coming in to bring in a more global presence to the league. Now, Messi's not going to be here forever. And now we have to take the other step forward. And I think we're ready to do that.
Agreed. I apologize. I got to let this go in this case, but Mr. Tutino, Joe, you've been amazing on this. I appreciate it. How can people find you on social media, by the way?
Oh, at Joe Tutino on the gram, as they say, or an X, and I'm the most boring follower on X, and I'm not somebody who's going to get into an argument with you. So whatever you want to say to me, go ahead. And I share pictures of my dog on Instagram and family. So that's kind of how
Awesome.
I am.
Love it. Hey, you know what? That's the best way to be sometimes.
There you go.
At least, like I said, keeps you out of trouble, keeps your tweets from like trending for the wrong reasons. That's
I like to lean towards the positive. That's all, if possible. So
appreciate it. But yeah, thanks again in this case here. Good luck to the season. I mean, obviously, there's a lot to be excited about with you guys. Again, congratulations. This is now year 31 for you.
Yeah.
So that's
I've been blessed. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's like I said, you've been at this, and again, feels like just started for you. So congratulations on that. Again, this is Inside the Call. My name is Scott Schertzen alongside Mr. Bill Akins, Stream Punk Soccer. Thanks as always for tuning in. Appreciate it. Let us know who you want going forward. And take care. Until then, next time, stay awesome.
Yeah.